My name is Nadya-Karim, and I'm a Senior Technical Advisor at Creative Associates International. Before we dive in, let's take a few moments just to remember ourselves as 9 or 10-year-olds. Do you remember what it's like to get lost in a Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys book? Or were you the sort that thumbed through a National Geographic cover surreptitiously? The point is, you do know what it feels like to get lost in a book. And so it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Sheeba and the Private Detectives. 3 girls, a boy with a backpack, an inquisitive dog, and a cantankerous donkey. Sheeba and her friends use math and science and some common sense sleuthing to solve community problems. And along the way, they explore history and geography and art and culture and traditions, all with a dose of slapstick. Since 2018, their adventures have been followed by over 2 million readers, translated into 3 different languages, and during COVID, converted into hours of audio programming. Like all good origin stories, this one begins in a land far, far away, that would be Pakistan, and is the result of a chance meeting at a book fair. There was an NGO worker who was troubled by the abysmal lack of reading materials for the 1.2 million children on her multi-million-dollar project. These young emergent readers had mastered fluency, comprehension, vocabulary, thanks to the dedication of their teachers. But the reality was they had nothing to read. The NGO worker had been told there was no money in children's books, only textbooks. But as luck would have it, at the book fair, she met the CEO of a fledgling startup whose dream was to create a social enterprise using comics and animation. And so, together they joined forces and created a series that was richly and differently illustrated, that modeled children as positive change agents, that had inclusivity and grappled with difficult emotions and questions, and had relatable, non-traditional heroes. The premise was that reading can blend math and science and social studies and really pique a child's interest. Each issue explores at least one profession, so we have a zoologist, an archaeologist, a carpenter, a fisherman, and there are user notes that extend learning through hands-on activities that readers can do on their own or in a group setting. Because the comic books follow a subtly predictable pattern, and because readers are self-motivated to read and reread them, the learning gains are significant. At a print scale of 10,000, a 25-page color book is less than $1. But Sheeba wasn't an instant success. When members of the government's textbook department were reviewing the books, they were deeply skeptical. Yes, they liked the idea of math and science, but they weren't sure about the comic book format, and they weren't sure about the girl with short hair who liked boxing. It clashed with cultural values, and who ever heard of a talking dog? However, after reviewing the books, they realized how much could be learned in a fun manner. What our experience with Sheeba demonstrates is that if we are genuinely serious about creating readers, we have to acknowledge that reading must be ubiquitous, and that reading is a social activity. Many of the tenets that made Sheeba successful are already encapsulated in USAID's local capacity development policies, so our mandate is clear. We need to acknowledge and then resolve the dilemma about the lack of age-appropriate books for emerging and fluent readers. Currently, we consider reading materials only in light of their service to project outcomes. But what if we recognized that reading mostly happens outside of school? What if we built our programs on research around the foundations of habit formation, rewards? So what if we invested earlier and more thoroughly in things like reading cards that children can take home, or in digitized, modularized audiobooks? What if we started projects by making things like mobile libraries or text-based libraries far more accessible than adding them on as bells and whistles towards the end? The Sheeba series is just one example of a way in which we can reimagine reading and produce texts that are engaging, interesting, and intrinsically motivating for young readers, but also affordable to produce at scale. What ideas do you have to get more texts into the hands of eager readers?